Chapter 12. Beyond Liberation. Unless one is already beyond liberation, one cannot relish the transcendental glories of the Lord, nor can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. Nectar of Devotion, Chapter 4. I was sitting with my manuscript spread out on the table. "We need to talk," I said to my father. "I've finished Volume 2. My readers have followed the yoga journey through spiritual combat, achieved the paradise within, conquered material identification. They're free from fear. They've won." My father looked at me quietly, waiting. "But something feels incomplete," I continued. "I keep asking myself, is that it? Is inner peace the final destination? Because if it is, why do I still feel like something's missing?" He smiled, the knowing smile of someone who'd asked that exact question 40 years ago. "You're ready for Volume 3, he said. Beyond the paradise within. "Let me start by affirming first what you've accomplished," my father said. "You and your readers have achieved something magnificent. You've successfully navigated the spiritual combat, following the one greater man to achieve liberation through firm obedience fully tried through all temptation. We conquered the gross lures of desire and the subtle traps of intellectual pride," I added. "Yes. You secured the internal state of spiritual perfection, the inner peace often described as a paradise within thee, happier far. This internal victory ensures the cessation of material identification and provides freedom from fear, establishing spiritual stability regardless of external fluctuations." He paused, letting that sink in. "But this internal paradise, magnificent as it is merely the preparation. It's the solid foundation upon which the true spiritual skyscraper is built." "What do you mean?" I asked, though I suspected I knew. If transcendental consciousness, the pure knowledge giving direct perception of the self by realization, is acknowledged as the king of education, what then lies beyond paradise? Is inner perfection truly the final destination, or does something infinitely greater await, providing ultimate, perpetual fulfillment? I thought about my students who had achieved that inner stillness, that transcendental consciousness. Some of them seemed completely satisfied. But others, many others, had that same look in their eyes that I'd been feeling. Question: is this all there is? "The real ultimate destination transcends peace of liberation," my father said. "It transcends intellectual realization or mere cessation of suffering. True realization of the Supreme involves more than merely transcending the material world or achieving spiritual consciousness." "Then what is it?" I asked. "The ultimate goal is not an abstract principle but a personal relationship with the Supreme Beloved as the source and object of love. The eternal mellow. To understand this highest spiritual reality," my father continued, "we must first introduce the concept of rasa." "You mentioned that before," I said. "Yes, but now we need to go deeper. In this world, everyone is perpetually engaged in some sort of service, and the impetus for that service is the pleasure, the rasa, derived from it. A family man works day and night driven by affection for his wife and children. This compelling force is called rasa, a kind of mellow or relationship whose taste is very sweet." "So we're already experiencing rasa," I said. "We just don't know it." "Exactly. But here's the problem. The relish or taste of this mundane rasa does not long endure. Mundane workers constantly change their enjoyment positions because sense gratification offers only flickering happiness." My father leaned forward. "Think about it. How long does any material pleasure last? A delicious meal? An hour? A great vacation? A week? A successful career? Until retirement, maybe. The whole advancement of material happiness relished by an ordinary family man finishes as soon as his life is over. At death, everything is finished, and one must begin a new chapter, higher or lower than the last one." "So all our accomplishments in this life, political, social, national, international, will be finished with the end of life," I said. "Yes. The results of all our actions in any field of activity will be finished with the end of life. That's the nature of temporary rasa. He pulled out a worn copy of the Nectar of Devotion and read, Bhakti rasa, the mellow relished in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, does not finish with the end of life. Continues perpetually and is therefore called amta, meaning that which does not die but exists eternally. Amta, I repeated. Immortal. This permanence is confirmed throughout all Vedic literatures. A little advancement in Bhakti rasa can save the devotee from the greatest danger, missing the opportunity for human life. Activities in Krishna consciousness are permanent, ensuring that even if one cannot complete the course of devotional practice, they will take birth in the higher divisions of human society to further their advancement. So it carries over, I said. From life to life. Yes. But more importantly, the adoption of Bhakti rasa, or Krishna consciousness, immediately brings one to an auspicious life free from anxieties. Blesses one with transcendental existence, transforming consciousness. He continued reading. When pure senses are employed in the service of the Lord, one becomes situated in Bhakti rasa life. Any action performed for the satisfaction of Krishna in this transcendental stage can be relished perpetually, and all varieties of mellows turn into eternity. This engagement is eternal. Immediate transcendental pleasure. But here's what makes this revolutionary, my father said, his voice taking on excitement. This eternal engagement in transcendental service provides immediate and overwhelming relief from all material distress. Not someday. Not after years of practice. Immediately. How is that possible? I asked. Rupa Goswami describes 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. Let me share the first 3 with you because they affirm the immediate and superior nature of Bhakti rasa. He counted on his fingers. First, pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Second, pure devotional service is the beginning of all auspiciousness. Third, pure devotional service automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure. Immediate relief, auspiciousness, and pleasure, I said. That sounds too good to be true. It sounds that way because we're conditioned to think spiritual advancement requires suffering. But listen to this. Pure devotional service acts like a blazing forest fire, immediately killing all the inauspicious snakes of material desire. He read from his notes, engagement in Krishna consciousness is the practical injection to stop all the fructifications of the seeds of our sinful activities. The sinful desire seed within the heart, which cannot be removed by austerity, charity, or ritualistic ceremonies, can be removed only by achieving Krishna consciousness and devotional service. We talked about this in the chapters on practice, I said. The burning away of desire seeds. Yes, but here we're establishing why it works. The blazing fire of Krishna consciousness is so strong that the snakes of ignorance are immediately killed. Devotional service automatically places the practitioner in deep transcendental pleasure. Adoption of Bhakti rasa will immediately bring one to an auspicious life free from anxieties and automatically bless one with transcendental existence. The natural elevation. Furthermore, my father continued, devotional service is the highest enlightenment. A person engaged in devotional service develops all the good qualities generally found in the demigods. What does that mean practically? I asked. It means character transformation happens naturally, not through forced discipline. For instance, a young person in Krishna consciousness automatically gives up destructive habits. They save valuable time, whereas non-devotees, even if highly educated, are often still entangled in these activities. I thought about some of my students who had started chanting. The changes weren't forced, they just naturally lost interest in things that had previously consumed them. Devotional service naturally elevates a person without the forced endeavor of so-called silent meditation. Because of a devotee's high grade of Krishna consciousness, even the demigods like to live with them. Conversely, a person who is not in Krishna consciousness, even if highly educated from the academic point of view, has no good qualities and can be seen to be baser than animals. That seems harsh, I said. It's not a judgment, it's an observation. Education without character, intelligence without compassion, success without integrity, what value does it have? Person fully in Krishna consciousness naturally develops all good qualities because they're connecting to the source of all goodness. Beyond the peace of liberation. Now we come to something that will shock many spiritual seekers, my father said. The ultimate proof of the supremacy of Bhakti Rasa lies in the fact that pure devotees find the greatest conventional spiritual achievements utterly insignificant. You mean liberation? I asked. Exactly. One of the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service is that those in pure devotional service deride even the conception of liberation. Deride it? I repeated. That's a strong word. It has to be because the pleasure derived from devotional service is so transcendental and unlimited that no other happiness can compare to it. Happiness derived from Krishna consciousness is so powerful that it automatically includes all the other perfections achieved through religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and even liberation from material existence. He read, "It is said that even one drop of happiness in Krishna consciousness stands beyond comparison with an ocean of happiness derived from any other activity." That's the cow's hoof comparison, I said, remembering. Yes. Rupa Goswami states that if Brahmananda, the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme, is multiplied by 1 trillion-fold, it still cannot compare to an atomic fraction of the happiness derived from the ocean of devotional service. Prahlada Maharaja confirmed that compared to the ocean of happiness derived from Krishna's presence, the happiness of Brahmananda is considered no more than the water found in the impression left by a cow's hoof in the earth. The 5 kinds of liberation. Let me be specific, my father said. Devotees do not aspire even after the 5 kinds of liberation. He listed them. Saujya, to become one with the Lord, merge into the Supreme. Salokya, to live with the Supreme Lord on the same planet. Sarupya, to have the same features as the Lord. Sri, to enjoy the same opulences as the Lord. Samipya, to live as a companion of the Lord, have constant association. Wait, I interrupted. Even the last one, constant association with God, they don't want that? They don't want it in that formal sense. A devotee is satisfied simply by discharging loving service to the Lord. Even if they are offered a post like Krishna's in his abode, or opulence like his, or even personal association with similar bodily features, they refuse to accept, being satisfied simply by devotional service. Why would they refuse? I asked. 'Cause what's offered is formal, honorary. What they want is intimate, relational. The joy of religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation follow the devotional service of the Lord like dutiful maidservants following a queen. Any person who has developed even a small amount of devotional service doesn't care a fig for any kind of happiness derived from these sources. So liberation isn't the goal, I said slowly. It's a side benefit. Exactly. Pure devotees regard any kind of happiness other than devotional service as no better than straw in the street. Even the 4 kinds of spiritual opulences are refused by devotees who have taken complete shelter of the Lord's service. They refuse to accept anything that diminishes their relationship with Krishna, even after liberation. Because relationship is what they're after, I said. This is why pure devotees, whose hearts are already full of transcendental bliss due to the beauty of Krishna's lotus feet, naturally deride the liberation that is so valuable to the impersonalists. The attraction of the liberated souls. But here's the proof that devotion is superior to liberation, my father said. The transcendental nature of Krishna's qualities and pastimes is proven by their irresistible power to attract even the most realized non-devotees. What do you mean? I asked. The goal of the impersonalists is to merge into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, the undifferentiated spiritual light, after being freed from the contamination of material illusion. These individuals are concerned with self-realization and liberation, seeking abstract peace. Right, I said. That's what most spiritual traditions teach. But there's a crucial passage called the Atmarama verse. It states that even those who are completely liberated from material contamination are attracted by the transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna. Even after liberation? I asked. How? A liberated soul, Atmarama, has absolutely no desire for material enjoyment. They're wholly freed from all kinds of material desires. Yet, even in this liberated state, they are irresistibly attracted by the desire to hear and understand the pastimes of the Lord. My father leaned forward intently. This confirms that the glories and pastimes of the Lord are not material. If they were material, how could liberated persons, who are free from material desires, be attracted by them? So there's something beyond liberation that even liberated souls want, I said. Yes. They're attracted because Krishna's form, name, and activities are spiritual in nature. His body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, Saksidanandavigraha. The impersonal Brahman effulgence, into which the impersonalists merge, is merely the bodily ray of Krishna. Therefore, Krishna himself is the ultimate end of the absolute truth, being the source of that impersonal effulgence. So impersonal liberation is like swimming in the rays of the sun, I said, while devotion is meeting the sun itself. Beautiful analogy. This attraction of the Atmaramas proves that the pinnacle of spiritual achievement is not abstract absorption, but engaging in the variegated, delightful reality of Krishna's personal pastimes and qualities. For those fortunate souls who are swimming in the ocean of Krishna's nectar of devotion and relishing the narration of his pastimes, they certainly know ecstasies that immediately minimize the value of all other forms of happiness. Submission to the Supreme Person. We sat in silence for a moment. The afternoon light was fading, and my father got up to turn on a lamp. So the transition from Volume 2 to Volume 3, I said, is the transition from internal mastery to eternal connection. Yes. You established in Volume 2 that the Son achieved his victory through submission to the Father's will. Now we understand the true nature of that submission. It wasn't just obedience, I said. No. The ultimate goal is not an abstract principle but a personal relationship with the divine as the source and object of love. The Supreme Divine is unequivocally declared as the ultimate divine personality, not some abstract force, but a personal being with whom we can have a relationship. My father opened his Bhagavad Gita and read, "The Son's perfect submission was not merely dry obedience or a fulfillment of ritualistic duty, it was a loving response to the divine person who cares for him individually." And that divine person is Krishna, I said. Yes. This divine person possesses unlimited attractive qualities, 64 in full, which we'll explore in later chapters. He is famous not just for his power, but because he is controlled by love. Controlled by love? I asked. I thought he was the controller. He is the supreme controller, but he becomes obliged to the loving spirit of the devotee, not exactly to the service rendered. He agrees to be bound only by the obligation derived from his devotee's ecstatic love for him. My father smiled. His transcendental qualities include being the protector of surrendered souls and the well-wisher of devotees. The devotee is satisfied simply by discharging loving service to the Lord. So this path, Bhaktarasa, is everlasting and joyfully performed, I said. Yes. Secures the soul's eternal dynamic association with the divine person, transcending the internal mastery achieved on the path of liberation. This is the ultimate fulfillment, discovering the eternal spiritual destination through the loving fulfillment found in divine connection. I closed my notebook, feeling like I'd finally found the answer to the question that had been nagging me since I finished Volume 2. Inner peace wasn't the destination. It was the doorway. Beyond that doorway lay something I hadn't imagined. Not void, not bliss, not even enlightenment in the abstract sense. But relationship. Personal, dynamic, eternal relationship with the Supreme Person. Dad, I said, this changes everything. Every spiritual seeker I know is aiming for that inner peace, thinking it's the finish line. But you're saying it's just the starting line. Not just, he corrected gently. It's essential. Without that foundation, you can't build the relationship. But yes, it's the beginning, not the end. So what comes next? I asked. Next, we explore how to actually develop that relationship. Practical methodology. The regulative principles. The path from where you are to where you're meant to be. He stood up, signaling that our conversation was ending. The knowledge that this relationship is everlasting and joyfully performed, that's the science of fulfillment. Not the science of achieving peace, but the science of achieving love. Beyond abstract peace, I said, to eternal connection. As I drove home that evening, I thought about all those